So today I want to talk about Douglas Macgregor and some of the assumptions that he's making in his arguments that are not true. And this comes a lot from the perspective he has. Now, my viewpoint of how an Islamic army works is somewhat different than his. And that's why I disagree with him. Now, he makes an assumption that as time goes on, the severity and the criminality of the Hamas attack on Israel will be forgotten. And the reason I disagree with that is only the supporters of the Israeli position believed that that was an illegal and heinous attack. If you recall, there were celebrations in the United States, Europe, all over the world, in all kinds of Muslim countries. People celebrated those atrocities. And it's because of that viewpoint that I disagree with Macgregor. None of those groups thought it was an atrocity. Therefore, they just considered it a military strike. See, under the rules of an Islamic jihad, those were all legal and legitimate. So a Muslim cleric, a Muslim politician, or a Muslim practitioner will not see that as a crime. Therefore, it's not going to be forgotten because it was never considered to be a crime. So his position that as time goes on and the bodies stack up in Gaza, that what happened in Israel will be forgotten. And the problem is the only people that can forget it are Israel supporters, because the vast majority of the world did not see it as an atrocity. Now, his argument that that will cause political withdrawal, I don't agree with, because it never provided political capital on the Islamic side. Now, the second thing is the casualty figures they give for Gaza for children killed, it's very misleading. And Macgregor knows that this is misleading. So there's a couple pieces of information we don't have. And the first information we don't have is what is the average age of a Hamas fighter? Do Hamas fighters start at 12 years old or 13 years old? Do they start at 16? Do they start at 17? So the second part of this is I've talked extensively about support networks and logistics. So support and logistics are legitimate military targets. So if the support and logistics are 14 and 15-year-olds, they are legitimate military targets. So what we need to do is differentiate age groups. So let's say that children are under 12 years old, and we report casualty data from 12 to 18 years old separately and determine what the average age of Hamas combatants are. Now, the last part of this is casualties of women. Now, some women support Hamas logistically and politically. Now, if they are a logistic participant, that's a legitimate military target. Now, to clarify things a little bit more, when we look at Macgregor and what he declares as women and children as casualties, let's ask this question. When we look at the logistical and production support for Hamas, how many women and how many children are building rockets? So if you bomb a rocket factory and kill everybody, how many of those are women and children? How many of those are combatant women and children? Now, when we look at the Viet Cong, for example, half of the fighters in the Viet Cong were women. So we really need to start looking at these casualty figures and decide whether they're combatants or not. Now, the last consideration that nobody ever talks about is what percentage of the Gaza population is Christian, and are they combatants or non-combatants? Because I don't see them supporting Hamas. So nobody has a plan for what to do and how to treat the Christians that are in Gaza. These are the kind of things we need to address. So please share your thoughts. We'll see you on the next video.